Okay, let's face it. Everyone's busy. You want to get the important stuff, the real story, but scrolling endlessly, it feels like such a time suck.
Right.
So think of this as your shortcut. We've kind of distilled it all down. Today, you're going to get really in the know without all that overwhelm.
And today we're focusing on Kendra Wilkinson.
Hmm.
You probably know her from reality TV, maybe her earlier stuff,
Yeah.
but we're going deeper than just the surface level here.
Absolutely. We've really dug into her book, Being Kendra. It gives you this raw, pretty unfiltered look behind the curtain.
Yeah.
We're talking motherhood, career, relationships,
Wow.
all lived out with reality TV cameras constantly rolling.
And our mission really is to pull out those key insights from Kendra's experiences.
Yeah.
The surprising bits, the lessons she learned, especially as a brand new mom trying to navigate this incredibly public and demanding life.
Yeah.
What can her journey actually tell us?
Okay, so let's dive right in. Motherhood, Kendra's way. One of the first things that really jumps out is her unique take on raising baby Hank. That's Hank the Fourth, or Hank Jr., she calls him. She talks about going to these baby classes and noticing, wow, she parents really differently than a lot of the other people there.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Her whole philosophy was about letting him experience things, like even if it meant a few bumps or scrapes.
Right.
She saw other parents jumping in constantly, stopping their kids from even minor tussles over a toy. But her take was almost, well, the opposite. She saw those little interactions as, like, communication, not just aggression. She wanted him to learn from it.
It really shows this desire she had for him to be, well, tough, resilient. She famously said she was raising a kid, not a porcelain egg.
That's a quote.
And it clearly connects back to her own childhood, right? Building forts, playing outside, the kind of stuff where you do get scrapes. She seems to value that kind of less sheltered upbringing.
It does make you think about how childhood might have changed. Kendra actually mentions taking Hank Jr. to a park in her old neighborhood and being kind of shocked at how empty it was on a nice day.
Mm.
It raises that question, doesn't it? Are kids maybe too sheltered now? Are they missing out on those moments of figuring things out for themselves?
She even nailed that internal conflict perfectly. She said, I don't want to shelter him, but I do want to shelter him.
Exactly.
Because she'd experienced, as she puts it, a lot of craziness and dirtiness in her life. She felt this pull to protect him from all that. But at the same time, she knew learning through experience was important. It's a really tough balance.
It's a tension so many parents feel, I think. Where's that line between safety and letting them explore and figure things out? And Kendra was pretty clear, wasn't she? She leaned on her gut instincts as a mom, not just following parenting books word for word.
Exactly. She talks about moderation in, well, pretty much everything. Nutrition, medicine. She wasn't against using medicine if baby Hank was really sick and miserable, but it wasn't the first resort for every little thing.
Right.
But she also shares some really practical, down-to-earth baby advice she picked up. The kind of stuff you don't always find in those shiny parenting guides.
Oh yeah, those are the gems, like having loads of bottles so you're not constantly washing them.
Total lifesaver.
And a bottle warmer essential for those night feeds.
Yeah.
Being careful with rice cereal just to get longer sleep. Put in the baby bathtub right on the counter, which is just smart.
Makes sense.
Keeping yogurt handy for a quick snack for herself. And then the basics. Nose plunger, nail clippers, baby aquaphor, a monitor, a humidifier.
All the essentials.
It just reminds you that even in that crazy reality TV world, the day-to-day of parenting is still very real.
Which is a perfect segue, actually, into juggling this new mom role with her very public career. I mean, can you imagine? Cameras there for diaper changes, middle-of-the-night feeds.
The lack of personal space sounds almost unbelievable. The film crew was basically there 204/7 sometimes.
Yeah.
Kendra describes waking up for feeds and the cameras are already rolling. She even had her mic on while trying to sleep. It just highlights the sheer intensity, the invasiveness of filming like that.
And it definitely made things harder, didn't it? Especially early on with breastfeeding. She was really struggling with it. And having cameras right there just amplified that pressure, those feelings of like inadequacy. She really wanted to breastfeed. She was committed. But like for so many new moms, it just didn't go smoothly at first.
It really underlines that broader pressure around breastfeeding, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But for her, it was magnified times 100 by the cameras. Every single moment felt like it was under a microscope. It shows that gap between the idealized picture of motherhood and the messier reality.
But you see her view of motherhood change, evolve. She pushes back against that, outdated 1950s mom image.
Definitely.
She still wants to go out with her husband, wants to feel attractive. She even jokes about moms wearing thongs for comfort.
Yeah.
But she's also deeply committed to being a present, involved mom. It's about finding her balance.
Yeah, there's that one story, that real working mom moment, remember, where she stayed up super late,
Hmm.
way past Hank Jr.'s bedtime,
Oh, yeah.
and was physically trying to get him to crawl so she wouldn't miss seeing it for the first time.
Wow.
It just perfectly captures that intense desire not to miss those milestones, even when work is pulling you in a million directions.
It's that constant tightrope walk, isn't it? Protecting him, but letting him explore.
Yeah.
Balancing her personal life and her work, which is so public. And like so many parents, often putting her own needs way down the list.
Exactly. And her job wasn't a normal 9 to 5. Her image, her reputation, it's always there. Even just going to a spa could become a public thing. She worried about being recognized in a dressing room. It really shows the 24/7 nature of being famous and how hard it is to keep any privacy.
Now, let's shift a bit to her relationships. She's incredibly honest that married life isn't always, smooth sailing, especially when you had a baby in these demanding careers.
And that move to Philadelphia, that was a huge upheaval for Hank's football career, but also for the show.
Right.
And that initial living situation there sounds pretty rough. The apartment was apparently kind of a disaster.
Yeah, she describes feeling like they had no home, no proper kitchen, just instability. And that became a huge source of conflict. It just shows the massive stress of moving a young family, especially with a newborn, for work and a reality show.
And then it gets even tougher, doesn't it? Hank gets cut from the Eagles, and then he goes off to Minnesota for another shot,
Right, leaving her behind.
leaving her in Philly with the baby, no support system nearby,
Yeah.
and she still has to keep filming the show.
That must have put enormous strain on their relationship.
She talks about feeling like a military wife, basically managing everything alone. She felt Hank had kind of checked out emotionally, and the distance just made that feeling worse. It's a really stark look at how careers and distance can impact a marriage, especially during that vulnerable postpartum time.
And this all leads up to what she calls her Britney moment in Philadelphia. A really intense emotional breakdown, just
Yeah.
fueled by being lonely, frustrated. She hit a wall and knew something had to change drastically.
That fight or flight description is so revealing.
Yeah.
Just uncontrollable screaming and crying, she said. It's raw, it's honest about the toll it took. And she's careful to say it wasn't necessarily about divorce right then, but just this desperate need to get out of a situation that felt unbearable.
And that moment leads to an ultimatum, right? She tells Hank he has 3 months. Find a permanent place for them back in LA. She just couldn't handle the constant moving anymore.
And this is where her views on financial rules come in. Even though she's earning money too, she had this quite old-fashioned idea, as she calls it, that the man should build the nest.
Interesting.
It adds another layer to their dynamic, especially when you factor in her past credit problems from all the moves. It highlights the very real practical and financial stresses they were under.
The early postpartum time itself sounds incredibly difficult for her, too. Stuck in Indianapolis during a bleak winter, feeling isolated.
And sleep-deprived, terribly sleep-deprived.
Right. And what's really striking is how she initially resisted getting help. Like, she felt she had to prove she could do it all herself.
Which led to a really severe postpartum experience. She's incredibly brave, actually, sharing that she had thoughts of self-harm.
That's heavy.
It really is. And the turning point only came when she finally agreed to hire a night nurse.
And there's that feeling she keeps coming back to, being trapped in this public image that just didn't match how she felt inside. That zipping up a Halloween costume analogy.
That's such a powerful image, isn't it? That disconnect between the Kendra people thought they knew from before and this new mom struggling internally. She also seemed a bit skeptical about other celebrities who made balancing motherhood and glamour look effortless.
Yeah, hinting that maybe there's more support behind the scenes than we see.
Or just that the public image is very carefully managed. She even talks about feeling jealous of their nanny, Jeannie, even though she knew Jeannie was fantastic.
That's relatable, that vulnerability.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that jealousy ultimately led her to let Jeannie go, which must have been a tough call. It just speaks to the insecurity that can hit you in early motherhood. And she mentions being sober meant she didn't have old coping mechanisms for those tough emotions.
Then there's the whole body image pressure cooker. She talks about this intense focus on losing weight right after her 6-week checkup.
Driven largely by that looming bikini body after baby photo shoot, right?
Exactly. And the industry's reliance on retouching, which she acknowledges.
It's such a candid look at the pressure woman, especially famous women, faced to bounce back physically. She even admits she tried some unhealthy things out of desperation. And she's honest about her cravings and less than ideal eating during pregnancy, including that Last Supper at McDonald's before giving birth.
Huh, I remember reading that.
It just highlights those unrealistic expectations and the struggles hidden behind the seemingly perfect post-baby bodies we see.
Interestingly, though, amidst all this chaos, their sex life didn't just disappear. It changed, sure, became less frequent, but the desire was still there.
Yeah, and they got creative, finding moments even in a smaller place. She mentions quick, spontaneous titsy sex in the car,
Right.
which just shows their resourcefulness,
Yeah.
Still trying to keep that physical connection alive despite everything.
And surprisingly, Dancing with the Stars actually helped things in that department.
Apparently so. Boosted her flexibility, boosted her confidence.
Makes sense.
Feeling better in your own skin can definitely translate to intimacy. She also realized that changing her wardrobe to be less sexy after becoming a mom actually made her feel less sexy and impacted things. So she went back to her own style eventually.
She does seem to have this adventurous streak, doesn't she? Even sharing that story about the jet ski in Cabo.
That adventurous side seems consistent. But importantly, she also says they made a conscious choice not to film their intimate moment,
Oh, definitely.
clearly influenced by her past experience with that leaked tape. A deliberate move to protect their privacy there.
When she talks about marriage itself, her view is pretty grounded. She sees it as serious work, like a day job needing constant effort.
That's a very realistic take, I think. It's not always easy, she says, but it's a 247, 365 days a year job. There's that sweet story about baby Hank's first birthday party.
In Minnesota.
Yeah.
During a blizzard.
Yes, Hank went all out to make it special, and she went along with it despite the weather. She uses it as an example of their commitment to each other.
And she really stresses communication, right? Being aware of how the other person is feeling. That's key.
Absolutely. And ultimately, she really emphasizes her commitment to Hank, saying their love endured some major difficulties, which suggests those challenges might have actually made them stronger in some ways.
Of course, being famous just throws another wrench into everything. Going out in public, losing that anonymity.
Yeah, even something casual like going to a hip-hop show could suddenly become a public appearance for her.
Yeah.
She talks about just craving me time, away from all the attention. It really highlights the personal costs of fame.
And her time on Dancing with the Stars sounds like it was incredibly tough. Physically, emotionally, especially her partnership with Louis Van Amstel.
She called it the most intense competition she'd ever done. The pressure, the scrutiny, not really clicking with her partner. It took a huge toll. She admitted feeling like she had to put on a brave face while secretly doubting herself.
She initially thought she might do really well, maybe even win.
Yeah, but she quickly figured out that popularity played a massive role.
Ah, the reality of reality TV.
Exactly. It's realistic about how those shows work. Skill matters, but audience votes are often the deciding factor. She also said she preferred her own e-show, Kendra, because she had more control and could be more authentic, even if the audience was smaller than a big network show.
And that desire for authenticity really comes through, doesn't it? Wanting to connect with fans by showing the real stuff, even when it wasn't pretty.
She gives that example about the miscommunication during filming around the old sex tape issue. It shows how complicated it is to make reality TV while dealing with really sensitive personal things. And she admits she couldn't even watch her own show.
Really?
Yeah, preferred to look forward, not back. And she just refused to pretend to be happy all the time, defying that expectation we often have of celebrities.
Her family relationships also shifted quite a bit, especially with her mom. There was that history of tough love, but also support. But after Kendra had the baby.
Things got strained. Understandably, Kendra's focus shifted to her new family, her career. Communication dropped off, misunderstandings happened. She sounds genuinely hurt and shocked when her mom disapproved of her relationship with Hank. It shows that vulnerability, wanting that parental acceptance.
But despite those issues, her drive to provide for her son seems unshakable. Her career is clearly tied to ensuring his security.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And deep down, she still expresses that desire for her mom to be proud, to acknowledge what she's achieved as a mom and professionally. It's that fundamental need for approval, isn't it, even as an adult?
Lastly, she talks about those unexpected parenting anxieties, what she calls parentnoia.
Which is such a great term. It covers everything from that panic attack on a plane over forgotten baby wipes
Oh, wow.
to those moments where you just have to improvise, like having the baby sleep in a stroller in a hotel because the crib seemed unsafe. It's that constant problem-solving and worry that comes with the territory.
And that parentnoia changes over time, right? From infant safety worries to toddler development anxiety. She worried about Hank Jr. not talking yet.
Yes. And her methods for encouraging him were, well, quite determined. Physically opening his mouth, she said. It really shows the range of parental concerns. She also mentions talking openly with Hank about infidelity, given all the celebrity scandals, stressing trust and communication in their own marriage. And surprisingly, she found motherhood actually made her more social, leading to new friendships with local moms.
So wrapping this up, Kendra's book really is this unfiltered dive into the messy, real side of early motherhood, that constant juggling act between fame and family, how her marriage evolved, and her very candid struggles with postpartum issues and body image.
Yeah, her story gives us some genuinely relatable insights, I think, into modern parenthood challenges and just trying to stay true to yourself when you're living under a microscope.
Which brings us to our final thought for you today. Listening to Kendra's journey, what parts of balancing your own life, career, family, personal identity really struck a chord? And how do her experiences maybe challenge or perhaps confirm how you think about navigating all those different roles? Definitely some food for thought there.